Happy Friday, friends and family. It is Bets with Tyler Fulghum and Erin Dolan, as she has been here with us in Vegas all week long. How have you enjoyed your stay down here on the Strip?
It's been a little bit too much fun so far. It's going to get even rowdier tonight and tomorrow. So we're off after this.
Okay.
Daily Wager. So I'm excited, but I love being here in Vegas. And look at these chairs.
Yeah, what do you
have
think
you seen
of our
like this?
decor here? Purple is the color of royalty and regality.
Yeah.
You sure fit the bill, but I think I'm more of a court jester as it comes to what happens here inside the studio. I saw as well you tweeting out to people what should I do here in Vegas? Are the DMs open?
Well, the DMs are not open.
Okay,
That's a different
I was gonna
situation.
say that's dangerous.
But underneath, yeah, I know. I shouldn't even tell people I'm here in Vegas. Not because I'm important, but because, it's Vegas. But underneath, yes, I got a lot of good ones, especially from Puck Daddy. We'll have to ask him about that as well.
Daddy.
He said something about Lotus.
Okay, Lotus of Siam.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
You see what you need to do here, your homework assignment every time. If you're already tuning in and watching on our YouTube channel, good for you. If you haven't subscribed, go do that right now, because it's not just Bet, but all of our pretty faces and beautiful analysis across all platforms and shows go right there on that YouTube channel. Let's get a kick started, Erin, by flashing our prolific vocabularies. That means it's time for the good word. You know the deal. I'm going to read a statement. You're going to tell me what word first pops into your head. We'll share it with our viewers. Let me pull out the trusty iPad here. And we'll start on the clay courts of Roland Garros. Our American Coco Gauff, Erin, is a 5-1 dog to beat Swiatek, the favorite on the women's side, in the French Open final. What is your good word for that number?
The good word is just incredible. It's not even incredible because that number. It's incredible for the fact that she's in her first Grand Slam title, and the girl is 18. When I was 18, I was worried about my senior house around this time of year, where I was going for the summer. I was not worried about playing the number one person in the world. Now, of course, this line, she is a huge underdog, but why would you count her out? Because she's also gotten to this position. So maybe you sprinkle a little bit on it. Personally, I'm not somebody who bets on this, but I think if you feel confident, it's worth a little bit of a sprinkle. I'm not saying throw $100 on it, but you can't count her out.
I'm with you here. My word is going to be heart, okay? And we know Coco Gauff. We see it when she plays. She is someone who wears her heart on her sleeve, very emotional, like her idols, the Williams sisters. So we see that heart when she's on the court. It's going to take a lot of heart to beat Swiatek, the best women's player in the world right now. And if you're making this bet 5-1 underdog as an American like Coco Gauff, you're kind of betting with your heart here. So that's the way I kind of approach it. And you said, don't go, bet the house, bet the mortgage. If you're betting with your heart here because you want to see the American pull the upset, the 18-year-old youngster, sprinkle just a little bit with your heart.
Just a little.
It's not maybe a wise bet with your brain, but it's a fun bet with your heart to root for the American.
Awesome that she's in the position, though.
Awesome. She is an absolute stud. All right, our second and final good word. We are going to switch to the ice before we welcome the Puck Daddy on the show. The New York Rangers, by virtue of their rather surprising and dominant Game 1 win over the Lightning, are now favored in the series, Erin, to win the East at -125 and go to the Stanley Cup Final. Your good word for that new line?
Timing. So when we talk about series futures, it is all about timing. So, of course, they won Game 1. Now they flipped to -money. And that was a shocking game. I really did think, it was one of my favorite bets, the Tampa Bay Lightning to win on the money line. But also we thought it was going to go under because it was just such a good goaltender matchup. So for me, I think what you want to do is you want to wait, see how this next game goes, and then bet into it depending on who you like. Again, it's all with timing. You're predicting it and trying to hope for the best. We kind of talked about this with the NBA. We were hoping the Warriors kind of would win so that we could get a better price than the Celtics. I liked them with the points, so I was fine either way. But nonetheless, I would wait. It's all about timing.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't hear much of what you had to say because I was drawing the hourglass. What do you think of my hourglass there? Does that work?
It's good. It's coming down fast, but you needed some more sand at the bottom.
Okay, well,
if it's that more low.
More sand at the bottom there, right there. All right. Sadly, I have to get rid of that and just go with my word, which is, remember Joey Lawrence back on Blossom? Whoa, whoa. No, some of us in the studio remember that. You may not have watched Blossom back in the day. But,
no, what is that? Is it a movie?
It was a sitcom back in the 90s with Mayim Bialik, and Joey Lawrence became a heartthrob in the 90s because of it. But his famous catchline was, whoa. And I'm kind of like, whoa, I know it was one game, but this is the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think the whoa is like, whoa, maybe this is an overreaction in the market. I know Shesterkin and the Rangers have been plucky and good, but I go, whoa, maybe an overreaction in the market because the Tampa Bay Lightning have just been absolutely dominant this season. All right, as I mentioned, as I bring back up our questions here. Our first guest today is on the ice. That's where we're segueing right now with the one and only Greg Wyshynski, the Puck Daddy, as he is affectionately known. So welcome to this Friday edition of Bet. Look at Puck Daddy high above the ice there at Madison Square Garden. Looking good, Puck Daddy. All right, let's start with this first and foremost. You just heard us mention that the Rangers are now the favorite in this series with the Lightning. Despite the fact that the Lightning are favored in Game 2 on the road, we have a switch in the series price. What is your play for Game 2 based on what you saw in Game 1 and how you marry that with what you thought about this series coming in?
Yeah, well, I liked the Rangers plus a game and a half as my pick for the series. As far as what I like in Game 2, I like the Rangers over the 2.5 goal team total. You know, they're averaging 4.4 goals per game on home ice. They get to their game on home ice. They're able to find the pace with which they want to play, and opponents haven't been able to take that away from the Rangers all playoff. So I like them. And also keep in mind this, you know, the Lightning have become famous as the team that bounces back after losses. All 3 times Andre Vasilevsky has won after a loss in this postseason, he's given up at least 3 goals. So I like the team total here for the over on the Rangers.
All right, and Greg, thank you so much for your suggestion of where I should be heading to Vegas for dinner tonight. But let's stick with the hockey talk here. So the Avs, they had a total in that first game. We know 14 goals, went down to 4 goals, and now the Avalanche, we know, are up 2 games. They're heading to Edmonton, and as we know, the Oilers are a home dog. What is your best bet for this game?
Well, I like the Colorado Avalanche on the money line here. I think we might be headed to Sweepsville, unfortunately, for the Edmonton Oilers. The Avalanche are on the road the best offensive team in the NHL in the playoffs and the second best defensive team in the NHL in the playoffs. I just think their depth is taking over the series. And again, like I've said before, you know, the loss of Darcy Kemper as their starting goalie in this series, not the worst thing in the world to happen. Pavel Francouz, Frankie as they call him in Denver, I think is a quality backup and a guy that obviously played extraordinarily well in Game 2. Not a lot of drop-off there, and I like them to win Game 3.
All right, Puck Daddy, high above the ice at Madison Square Garden, getting ready for Game 2. Real quick, Puck Daddy, you heard me give my Joey Lawrence impression. Whoa, you remember Blossom back in the day, right?
Of course I remember Blossom back in the day, man. You know, the best sitcoms are the ones where you can occasionally take a breath and learn a little life lesson during the show. And I believe Blossom had some very special episodes to that end.
That was the hallmark of a great 90s sitcom. Some kind of ethical or moral issue for the protagonist, family and friends. Help them figure it out. You're helping us figure out how to handicap the Eastern Conference Finals. Look forward to your coverage here tonight in Game 2 and throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup postseason, Puck Daddy.
Thanks a lot.
All right, let's switch gears now and move to the hardwood. So, again, you got a lot of 90s sitcoms, by the way.
I have a lot of things on a list that I need to watch.
Movies and pop culture, 90s sitcoms.
I know.
Aaron from these. That's how I learned how to become the man I am.
Woman.
Zach Morris and AC Slater and Saved by the Bell taught me everything I need to know. I'm sure Timmy Bontemps has heard of Saved by the Bell and Blossom. He's probably seen the original Top Gun, too. Let's welcome in our good friend Tim Bontemps as we recall what happened in Game 1, Timmy. And look ahead to Game 2. If you would have told me, Tim, before Game 1 that Jason Tatum was only just going to score 12 points on 3 of 17 shooting and Steph was going to go off for 6 threes in the first quarter on his way to 34, and yet the Warriors would still lose the game by 12, what would you have said to that scenario?
I would have said that the other guys on the Celtics hit shots, which is exactly what happened in Game 1. As you look at the way this game played out, the Golden State Warriors came in with one clear game plan, which is that they were not going to let Jason Tatum beat them. They were going to crowd him. They're going to make him either take difficult shots or have to give up the ball and let other guys shoot open threes. You know what? To Tatum's credit, he didn't play great in Game 1. He obviously only went 3 for 17, as you said, but he made the right play, and he consistently hit guys with simple passes for open shots, and guys like Al Horford and Derek White and Grant Williams and these other guys on the Celtics stepped up and knocked down shots. And I think going forward in this series, that's going to be the pivot point back and forth here. Are the Boston Celtics going to continue to have Jason Tatum be crowded and have him set up guys for open shots and have these other guys have the ability to knock them down in ways the Dallas Mavericks did not in the last series? Or are the Warriors going to change their strategy and make it a situation where Jason Tatum has to try to beat them by himself? I think we'll see what happens in Game 2, but I think that is the key strategic question going forward for the Warriors. Do they try to keep going with Jason Tatum making plays for others and allow those guys to beat him, or do they try to make Jason Tatum beat them by themselves?
And Tim, the Celtics are better on the road than they are when playing in TD Garden. After everything we saw last night, if I told you the Warriors are a bigger favorite, not to mention the total is up despite it going over in the first game, how would you bet game two, excuse me?
Well, I would stay away, Aaron, from the total or from the pick on either side because, like I said, I think this matchup really favors Boston, but you would think Golden State is going to play better in game two and probably even this series up. To me, I like the under in game two. You look at game one, Steph Curry goes bonkers in the first quarter, ends up with 34 points. Didn't really do a lot after that, though, and I think the Celtics did a good job cleaning up some of the early mistakes, going under on some screens, playing some drop against Steph, allowing him to get going. And on the other side, Celtics are probably not going 21 for 41 from three again. So to me, both teams shooting drops off a little bit in game two. These are two excellent defensive teams. I think it's going to be a defensive series more often than not. And so if I'm picking either side on that one, I'm taking the under and thinking that's going to be the play in game two.
All right, Tim, we didn't have this planned for you, but since we've been talking about 90s sitcoms here on this bet episode, you might as well share with the viewers out there what your favorite 90s sitcom was from back in the day.
I mean, I was a TGIF kid back then, so I watched all those shows all the way through. As well as Saved by the Bell. I watched all that stuff. We didn't have cable as I was a kid, so NBC, ABC, CBS. That was what I watched. All the famous
I hope
sitcoms.
you take this in the most loving way possible, but you have a very Danny Tanner vibe to you, man. The late, great Bob Saget. I see a lot of Danny. I could learn a lot from you. Like, you'd be there when I mess up to just say, hey, guess what, kid? It's going to be all right. So I hope that you take that in the best way because I mean it in the best way. You got a very Danny Tanner vibe. And you're in San Francisco. Wake up, San Francisco. It all fits. It all comes together.
Hey, that's right. No question. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Tim Bontemps in San Francisco helping us out in the NBA Finals. That's one side of the equation, kind of with the Golden State Warriors. Let's get to the other side of the equation in just a second with Ohm Youngmisuk. Check this out, though, Aaron. Don't know if you're aware of this, but usually when Steph goes off like he did in Game 1, the Warriors are almost unbeatable. 40-7 entering Thursday in the postseason when Curry scores at least 30. He had 34 in Game 1, yet they took that 12-point loss. All right, like we said, we need another perspective from this NBA Finals, and that means we need to welcome in our good friend Ohm Youngmisuk. Ohm, let's start with that fourth quarter of Game 1 for this team. The Celtics take a 106-103 lead for the Warriors. About 5 minutes to go, Steve Kerr at home on the bench in a timeout says, listen, guys, we have them right where we want them. It's a 3-point game with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We've been here before. We can win this game. Then the Celtics scored 11 straight points and pretty much put the game away and ended it. What did the Warriors say afterwards, and what are they trying to do about falling so flat in the final moments of fourth quarter of Game 1?
I'm still stunned at what we saw the other night. They just did not respond at all to Boston punching them in the mouth several times, in fact. I mean, they had plenty of opportunities to respond, they didn't. Draymond Green said it was almost a matter of not only was Boston making all these shots, but they were missing shots, and he actually called them Debbie Downers. Each time they missed a shot, it just progressively got worse for them, and the Avalanche kept hitting them. This was a 48-18 run. Draymond Green told me not too long ago they were dying to get back to this space, to be back in the NBA Finals after missing the playoffs for 2 years and going through all the injuries and all the losses they have. And yet, when they were here in Game 1, Boston looked like the team that was the hungrier team. Golden State was the one that looked like they were absolutely stunned with no answer.
And the Warriors, of course, have lost for the first time this postseason. And the one thing I wanted to mention here is when you look at the BPI, they give them an 80% edge. So what happened here in terms of the mood? What are the Warriors thinking considering they couldn't defend home court?
So this is interesting. Golden State has only been in this position in the Steve Kerr era 3 times. They have only lost Game 1 twice before. It was 2016 Western Conference Finals. They lost Game 1 to Oklahoma City, would fall behind 3-1 in that series, come back and beat the Thunder. The other time, they lost Game 1 in the NBA Finals to the Toronto Raptors in 2019. They did win Game 2, but we saw how that series ended up with Klay Thompson going down and all the injuries, and they end up losing the finals. They say they've been here before. They know what to do. They know how to react. They are resilient. Draymond Green set the tone almost immediately, basically saying, we're fine. Derek White, Marcus Smart, and Al Horford to go 15 for 23 from 3. He was like, it's probably not going to happen again. We're fine. Steph Curry pretty much echoed the same thoughts. We're resilient. We will respond on Sunday.
You know, I'm sure the Warriors could learn a lesson from bouncing back from disappointment and adversity from a 90s sitcom, any of the dozens or hundreds that were on the television back in the day. You heard us joking with Puck Daddy and Timmy. Did you have a favorite 90s sitcom from back in the day that you enjoyed watching?
Dog, I know I'm Asian and I look young, but you're talking to someone that is an 80s kid. So I was different strokes, okay? I watched my cartoons of Thundercats. I watched G.I. Joe, all that stuff. I was more of an 80s kid.
All right, I love it. Going back to the 80s where the TV and the pop culture was just as good, if not better, in my eyes. Always good hearing from our guy, Ohm Youngmisuk, breaking down the Warriors side in the NBA Finals. Ohm, we appreciate you dropping by.
Thanks.
All right, Erin, now back to us trying to find some winners.
Yes.
Find some plays that we like for Game 2. Interesting what happened in Game 1. Well done, by the way,
Thank you.
Pretty much the only one on the Daily Wager set yesterday who liked the Celtics plus the points. Didn't look good for a while, but that fourth quarter was an absolute blitz. So you tell me, when it comes to side total props, how you want to play Game 2.
So I would lay it with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, this is going to zing and zag. As I talked about, I really like this to go 7 games, the series, but I just think that, I mean, Draymond Green, yes, he sounded crazy kind of saying that the way he just could care less, but he's kind of right in the sense that they're probably not going to be able to score that much. The defenses are going to readjust, and these are two teams that they don't play each other often. They've played each other twice during the regular season. It's not like it's the conference finals and these teams have matched up multiple times where you have a better sample size. It was going to take 1 or 2 games to kind of readjust to each other, see how, you know, all the pieces, or where I should say the pieces fall in terms of that. So I would lay it with them because I do think it's going to go back and forth. And I just think they're not going to be able to shoot as great as they did.
Yeah, I definitely think the Warriors should give the most intense effort that they've given in this postseason, because you don't want to go back to Boston down 0-2.
Yeah, no way.
As far as a game side, I like what you're thinking with the Warriors. I'm just going to continue to isolate, the...
Such a good play, by the way. Such a good play.
Our favorite word. It was a best bet yesterday, and it hit. And I thought the Warriors were going to run away with the game. But, again, the third quarter where the Warriors have been so dominant, not just statistically and, with the numbers, but with your eyes. You see it with the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green trio, going back to their first ever championship. When they are in the finals, when they're in the postseason, and they come out of halftime, they usually blitz opponents. And it almost won them the game in Game 1 against Boston. They won the third quarter by 14 points, 38-24. They took a double-digit lead into the fourth. Of course, they couldn't hold it. Bottom line is, the Warriors at home in the third quarter are awesome. The Celtics on the road this postseason in the third quarter are also not good. Their net rating is -9, while the positive rating for the Warriors is +16. So you're talking about a 25-point difference per 100 possessions. That's why I think the Warriors can win the third quarter. They should. They better in this game, along with a few others.
Well, it's crazy was at plus money last game.
This one's
made
plus
no
105
sense
right now.
I mean, yes, you have to bet it.
I
You
love it.
kind of have to bet that.
Going right back to the well. All right, so that's how we're looking at this game. We both kind of like the Warriors in different ways. You're going to lay the 4 in the full 4 quarters. I'm going to lay the 1.5 in the third quarter. How about the prop market? Any players you want to try and isolate and take advantage of?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Boston Celtics. We'll start off with Jaylen Brown. I'm going to go under 24.5 points. He ended with 24 points last game, but I do really think that Tatum and Brown, they go back and forth there. So I would like to see a little bit more from him in terms of positive regression from the 3, but I don't think he's going to get over 24.5 points. As for Jason Tatum, absolutely love this play, taking him over points, rebounds, and assists, 39.5. It's already come down a little bit. It is juiced to the under, so you will get better value at the over there. Then the last one I like is Steph Curry, under 4.5 made threes. He was absolutely on fire last game. That's not going to happen. I think he steps more into the facilitator role. Everybody was loving his over assists. I was as well, over 5.5 assists. I know that was in your same game parlay. My same game parlay was absolutely tragic. We don't even want to talk about that. But nonetheless, there's 3 props that I like for game 2.
I don't know if your same game parlay was that tragic. You got the Celtics side right. Al Horford had a monster game,
and then he
doesn't
doesn't
hit double.
and just not rebounds.
Yeah,
like you would expect the rebounds over that. But
and then Steph
went off
that
21 points
he almost
in the first
got
quarter.
the over in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. Yeah.
All right, I just have 2 player props, and it's a couple of bench players that I want to isolate here, Erin. The first on the Warriors side is Jordan Poole. We know he was one of the most improved players in the NBA this season. We also know he's not good at all. He's downright bad defensively. And that's a bad recipe for this particular matchup with the Boston Celtics, who have guys who can score at all 3 levels at all 5 positions. I guess all 2 levels, inside, outside. I'm mid-range, all 3 levels. Okay, it tracks. But bottom line is, I'm going under his par in game 2. He had just 13 in game 1, so it went well under in game 1. He did play 25 minutes, which is about his normal allotment, but he was a team worst -19 in terms of net rating. I think Steve Kerr is going to look at that, and I think he's going to play more Iguodala, more Porter, maybe even more of the rookies, Moody and Kuminga, at the expense of Jordan Poole's minutes, because Boston will relentlessly attack him on the defensive end. And even if he does get his minutes, Boston's so great defensively, his efficiency might not be where it was during the regular season. One of those great defenders coming off the bench for the Celtics is Derek White, over 15.5 points, assists, and rebounds for him. He had 21 points in game 1, was hitting all kinds of crazy 3-point shots. But what I noticed, Aaron, is that he played 31 minutes off the bench for Ime Udoka. And I think those minutes are going to be very secure, if not go up, because he is a great defensive presence against Steph and Clay, and we see what he can bring on the offensive side as well. So, he had 21, 1 and 3 in game 1. I expect him to get those minutes as well. He is locked into that for game 2. All right, let's play a little game of Take Your Pick here, Aaron, as we'll look at more of the prop market. But bottom line is, a binary choice. 1 or 2, A or B. We're going to throw a couple of props up there. You tell me which one you would rather pick for game 2. Which Celtic would you rather pick to have a double-double? Tatum at a price of +240 or Big Al at 2-1?
I would have to go with Tatum here, only because Big Al kind of messed me up yesterday in that same game parlay, but also Jason Tatum, he had 13 assists. He's okay with being able to facilitate the ball in order for his team to win. I do think his scoring will go up slightly, but at the same time, he's going to do what he needs to do. He's actually taking a back seat a little bit, and that's okay. And it's actually showing that he's now maturing and he doesn't need to be this superstar. He wants to win, so I would go with Jason Tatum.
I'm with you there, girl. I'm with Tatum as well. He's going to play the most minutes. He is someone who can affect the game, as we saw in game 1. Not just the points and rebounds, which we normally think of, but if he is going to become this facilitator because of the way that Golden State is playing defense against him, Tatum's a very good passer and a willing passer. He likes to make the right basketball play. So better price, a guy who's going to play more minutes and is just a better player. I like Jason Tatum as well. All right, a couple of Golden State Warriors. Which player, take your pick to go over his points, assist, and rebound prop? You like Clay at -120 or Wiggins at -115?
I like Wiggins in this one. He actually hit over this just slightly with 25 par in that game 1. As for Klay Thompson, he's obviously an amazing player. There's just something about him that I feel like he is a little bit inconsistent of how you want to bet him. A lot of the Golden State Warriors props are actually really hard to bet because you don't know which player is going to go off each night. Who knows? Klay Thompson might have the best game ever, and we obviously thought he was going to go off in terms of threes. Only had 3 last night, which is kind of out of character for him. So I'm going to go with Wiggins on this one.
I want to say Clay because I think he's going to have a big game too. They need it for him to win, but I'm with you on Wiggins.
Ooh,
Not only
here we go.
is price
Agreement.
more attractive, but it's a 1-point assist or rebound, lower threshold to clear. He has been way more consistent throughout this entire postseason. Can't ignore that. I do think Clay's going off in game 2, but I like Wiggins because the price and the threshold is just easier to clear. All right, take your pick. Over 2.5 turnovers. Jaylen Brown at -140 on the C side, or Steph at -170.
I know it's so high, but I do love the Curry play here. I personally wouldn't bet it just because of the value at -170, but he is likely going to continue to turn over the ball, just given that Marcus Smart is going to be, I feel like, better in game 2 on him. I mean, they have to figure out a way to limit him. He had 21 points, but I'm going with Steph. Are you
going with Steph?
Sorry,
Okay.
Did I not get to that point?
No,
I'm sorry.
you said
I'm going with
you're
Steph. I don't like the
really
value,
wanna
but
bet it. You did say that. Like, I don't really want to bet.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to tell you not to actually bet into this just because -170, but if I did have to pick between these 2 players, I'm going with Steph for sure.
I'm not laying 170, even though Steph is more likely. I'll just go with Jaylen Brown.
All right.
All right. Finally, take your pick. Over 52.5 points. The first or second quarter in game 2 are your 2 options. Notice the difference, the nickel difference in price.
This is just such a random prop. I've never even thought of a prop like this, but I'm going to say the second quarter. I think that they're going to kind of, again, readjust their defense. It's not going to be shooting lights down that first. The defense is going to start coming back in. They know what they need to do. Adjustments will be made. I'm going to say the second.
I'm on the first quarter. You're more likely to get minutes. Oops. Whoopsie daisy. You're more likely to get some starter minutes there. The Steph, we just saw him go off for 21 points. The the Boston side, you'll get a full, I think, 10 to 12 minutes of Tatum. Most of that with Brown there as well. I just think you're more likely to get that in the first quarter, where I do think they were well above 52.5.
Random prop,
in
though.
Game.
Very
You
random.
haven't noticed.
Limer a little random.
Limer is very fond of randomness on this show. All right, let's end this Friday bet on the clay courts of Roland Garros. All right. Our guy Andre Snellings is going to join us right now live here on Bet. And usually Dre is joining us to talk about the association, give us some props in that regard. But Dre, he likes to dabble on the courts as well. Welcome, Andre Snellings, to the Friday edition of Bet. You picked Rafa Nadal to get his upset over Djokovic and make it to this point. And you picked Coco Gauff's semifinal win to get her into the final against Swiatek. So you, my friend, are on fire when it comes to the clay courts. Swiatek has won 34 straight matches. We said she's the best in the world on the women's side. Is a heavy minus 650 favorite against Coco Gauff. How are you playing the match, though, with the 18-year-old American as a 5-1 dog?
I am going with Coco Gauff plus 5.5 games.
Woo.
She needs that cushion because, like you said, Swiatek's been playing like the Terminator. But Coco has some advantages that Swiatek's previous opponents at the French don't. For one, no one on tour, including Swiatek, has higher upside than Coco does. Her court coverage and defense can be sublime at times, and as she gets older, she's able to touch that upside more often. But her biggest skill seems to be the processor upstairs. She has this ability to learn from a loss to a great player, and the next time she sees them, get the win. She did that in her last round against Trevisan. She did that against Sloane Stephens. She's done it previously against Naomi Osaka. Swiatek beat her on clay last year in a competitive match. I think Coco learns from it, and that she keeps it competitive this time around, so I'll take her plus the 5.5 games.
All right, Dre, back to the men's side. Rafa advanced to the French Open final because, unfortunately for Sasha Zverev, he had to retire from his match after he took a bad turn. We're waiting to see who Nadal's opponent will be in the final, either Casper Ruud or Marin Cilic. Their match happening as we speak right now. He's going to be the overwhelming favorite no matter who the opponent is at minus 600. But since he is such a large favorite, are you comfortable laying that with the 13-time French Open Slam champ on the clay courts, or is there another way for you to bet the men's final with Nadal involved?
Yeah, first of all, I felt so bad for Sasha when that happened, so I hope he gets better. He's playing at a really high level. With Rafa, I am betting essentially against the spread. I'll be looking to give a certain number of games. Like, I might take Nadal minus 5.5 games the way I just did with Coco on the opposite side. They normally give options from the favorite minus half a game to the favorite minus 9.5 games. And I will use that to determine, to see where the juice lies. And I believe he's going to be facing Casper Ruud. Nadal should be a heavy favorite as long as he's healthy. So I will look at that game cushion and use that to make my bets.
And Rafa, of course, has so many Grand Slam titles that you could legally drink them. He's got 21 of them. 13 of them are at the French. Now, when it's all said and done, if we set the line at 24 for the amount of titles, would you go over or under that?
I would go under for the simple fact that Rafa has been making a lot of noise about retiring lately. He hasn't said anything official, but it's become like a running conversation at the French. And if this is his last French, that would mean that he's got 21 now. There are only 3 more majors this year. 24 would be the absolute max. He hasn't won Wimbledon in more than a decade. So I'm going to say that it is unlikely that he goes beyond 24 unless he plays for multiple years moving forward. And since that's an unknown, I'll take the under.
Andre Snellings breaking it down in the best way on the clay courts of Roland Garros. And as you were talking, as you were giving your answer to that second question, yes, it was Casper Ruud who officially won his match and advances to the final against Rafa, where he is a major dog, plus 350, Rafa minus 525 on the comeback. We appreciate you, Andre, dropping by and sharing some knowledge on the courts, brother. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so, Erin, that'll do it for this Friday edition of
First
Bet.
in studio.
You are almost done with your week. We will be back, the two of us, with Doug Kazarian on Daily Wagers Day, which is on 30 minutes early.
Yep, 5:30 p.m.
Thank you for...
Eastern. I'm on Eastern time.
Exactly.
See?
Well, we know that.
Here we go.
Thank you for tweeting that, because my
The
mom...
3-hour difference.
My mom got that from
I
you.
did
I
see
didn't
that.
text her, so she's like, yeah, I already knew. Erin told me on Twitter, so thank you for informing my mom.
You're welcome.
When to tune in. It was fun having you out here.
Fun. It's been
Be
fun.
sure to come back soon. Keep those DMs closed, except for when Puck Daddy is telling you where to go while
I will
you're out
listen
here
to
in
that.
Vegas. All right.
All right. Happy to be.
Should be a lot of fun. We will have Bet back on Monday. And everyone here, enjoy your weekend with the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA Finals.